Hey, I was just spacing out looking for everybody. Happy Tuesday. Okay, here we go. We're going to welcome everyone, give a little bit of the rules and overview, and I'm going to dive right in. Just a reminder that this is also going to be on Watch Party tonight. It will be replayed through the week. So just make sure if you can't, I know it's 1:30 Central Standard Time at least. A lot of working out of the home people aren't able to be here, of course, but I also work out of the home. And this was the best time that I didn't interfere with my practice and my patients. So here we go. We're going to dive right in. Now, this is the Made for More workshop. And, I created this based on the guilt that so many of us feel when we want more. And because all of these things start popping into our heads, like, why can't I be content with where I'm at? Does that mean I'm not happy? Does that, all of these negative thought processes come into our head? And I thought, I would like to create a space that we can actually talk about it. Number one, not feel guilty about it, not feel judged. And then we can create a path and an experience that you can actually get to where you want to go. When you have that nudge, that means to follow it. And I talk about that tomorrow when we talk about the anchor and your purpose and all the things that really are your foundation that sometimes we forget about when we're stressed and when we're uncertain and we're in normal, busy, chaotic lives. So that's what this is all about. It is about creating an environment in a space that you can grow and you can be whoever you want to be, because it's just really you, me, alone with your workbook, doing the work that you know deep in your soul is calling for you. So first things first, I'm Dr. Tiffany Johnson, and I'm going to be your guide. I'm going to be bringing you through this process this week. It's a ton of content. I was going to say a ton of content, but it's a ton of content. And so I want you to make sure you have your workbook ready. I'm going to get to that in just a minute. First things first, I want you to comment as to where you're from. And whether you're watching live, which we have a really nice group on here live, if you're watching the replay, I still want you to comment. And I want you to say where you're from and what you're most excited about. So here's the deal. We sometimes, I say sometimes because it happens way more than sometimes, but we dim our lights so that nobody else feels uncomfortable. And it is important, and I will remind you all the way through this week that it's really important to feel what you feel and write down and get rid of the yuck that you feel, but never dim that light. So when you saw this and you're like, oh yeah, that like feels really good. I feel inspired. This is what I want. I want you to feel what that felt like, because that's part of your anchor. That's part of what lights you up. It's part of leaning into what feels really good so that you can create a life that you really, really, really want and are proud of. I'm going to just a few little admin things and tidbits. I don't know. You may have just heard my dogs barking. That's what gave me the whoop. I'm a mom of like older kids that sometimes still need their parents and dogs and they bark, and Amazon is our friend. So deliveries typically are between 10 and 3. And if you hear the crazies barking, that's what it is. And then sometimes they like to come and tell me that someone's at the door. So if you hear scratching at the door, if you hear dogs barking, we're just going to try to keep it real here. Okay. Your workbook. Let's look at it. If you don't have it printed, I suggest you to print it. There. And I kind of didn't allow enough room to write for this first one. Whoops. So if you have like an extra journal around, if you have a printer paper, if maybe your kids' math or English notebook is just hanging on the kitchen table, go grab it, because I think you're going to need more space. And if you can't do that, you have the this day at least printed out. You just use the back sides of them. But I totally did not give enough space. Because whenever I train, I also, I love the workshop component of it. Every workshop that I do, or every training that I do, seminar that I do, there's always an individual working on portion, because that's where I feel like you can take the information that I'm talking about and process it through what you need to, and then you can get it out on paper. There's going to be a ton of stuff in here that you will not remember everything, which is why the workbook's really important, because you're going to come back to it and be like, oh, I did not remember that. Or maybe you're going to come back to it and know that you didn't fill out Appendix A and B. Just kidding. I didn't use those words in here, but Appendix A and B, things that we worked on, and you want to go back to really dig a little bit deeper into it. So that's the ditty on the worksheet. I'm just getting all my things ready so I don't forget anything. I suggest you don't have distractions. We don't give ourselves very much time to work on ourselves. And I think personal development is it's the number one way to be better. And that takes not being distracted, not having a million tabs up, not having your reminders dinging you every second. I understand life happens, and we have kids, and we have partners, and we have animals. But if you can give yourself a little bit of space just for like the all-in thing, like I really want to learn this, I really want to dig into it, because as we continue to go, we're going to go deeper. Today's about mindset. It's about mastering your inner game. It's about getting rid of the head trash crap. It's about understanding what actual thoughts are coming into you and are they true. And then we're going to create a little bit of value, not a little bit of values. We're going to create top 3 values. Very briefly, I do this very comprehensively in my other programs, but I'm going to give you a mini roadmap to just have an idea of that light shining on your life. What does that look like? Because in stressful environments, it changes. Our values change, and our values are our foundation for everything. So once again, I'm Dr. Tiffany Johnson, healing owner, chiropractor of Healing Touch Chiropractic. I've been in private practice for 15 years, and I'm also the founder of the Align Life Coaching Mentoring Program. All of this really primarily focused on transformation. That's it. Transformation from the inside out, not the outside in. That's why we talk about mindset. That's why we talk about intuition. That's why we talk about purpose, in order to have more freedom, in order to have more impact on the world through your gifts that only you have. I have so much experience with working with my hands. Of course, I've been a chiropractor. I have one of the biggest solo practices in the world, and I have for 15 years. So I know a bit about the body. I know a bit about the brain. I know a bit about personal habits. And I also know way more than the average bear on what is possible in people's lives. What can happen? What kind of transformation is just right beyond where they are right now? And so now when I get to train and I get to do these workshops, it's without my hands, of course, but it's with my voice, and it's with all the premises. I don't know even if that's the right word, but the foundation that I've built and what I've learned about myself and what I've learned about humanity, so that you don't think that you should feel guilty wanting more. Because we are meant to be the CEO of this $1 million life, whatever that $1 million life means to you. It could be in terms of money. It could be in terms of business. But what about being calm? What about having great health? What about having a great marriage? What about having ease in your life? What about not feeling guilty, regret, resentful, fearful all the time? And instead of those driving your decisions, what if they could come from your source, your connection, that you know that is the right decision, that I know this is scary as you know what, but I'm going to take this step because I believe this is what I need to start to uncover my purpose and my passion. And that's me in a nutshell. And I am super proud to be able to be here with you, to share what I know, to have people that want what I want. And it takes courage to actually go against the grain. I always talk about thinking about making a decision is a hell of a lot harder than actually making the decision. And so now we get to talk about what is the mindset? What is your mind? What actually is your brain? Most people don't even know. And that's what I'm an expert in, because I see the transformation of what happens when people connect, when people live with more ease, when you have more hope. That's when results happen in your life. And it's not to underestimate anything, but we got to start at baseline, foundational premise, which is how you think. How you think leads into what you do, your behaviors, your actions, everything. So now if you look at the results of your life, let's just go straight back to, if I want to change the results of my life, I first am going to start with my mindset. And that's what we get to dig into. So here we go. By the way, with questions, I cannot see questions. Can I? Oh, look, there's tons of questions. Holy crap. My team's on here. Okay. They are here for you all week and a half, whatever that is. And they're here to answer all of the questions that I can't answer because I'm live. They're here to answer them for you, but they will be on standby 24/7. Well, kind of intense like that. Yeah, pretty much 24/7 from here until next week. So when things pop up, and as we build this community together, I want you to be brave. I want you to comment, even if you're a bit uncomfortable. So thank you so much for everybody being here. Tennessee, Wisconsin, Texas, Nebraska. Oh, I love this. See, this is totally Missouri. This is totally why I do this. Okay. Workbook. Here we go. We're starting on page 1. Going to give the overview of what the week is going to be like first, and then we're going to get right into it. So pillar 1, I'm on that first page, and I have fill in the blanks. It's just like we're in 5th grade, okay? Pillar 1 is mindset. How you think determines the results that you get in your life. Number 2 is your anchor. So it is your mind, your body, your intuition, that gut, the nudges, all the things. That's tomorrow. Pillar 3, day number 3, Thursday, is being fearless. It's one of my ultimate favorite topics. Well, all these 4 are, but the word fearless makes me so excited. Like so excited. It is like a power word. What would happen if we could take fear out of our lives, or create it to propel us in the best way, not what holds us back? Pillar number 4, when we plan it, we do it. And that's what we're going to end with on Friday, is what kind of plan can we come up with? What kind of plan can you get on track for so that you can achieve X, Y, and Z? Whether that's things, whether that's feelings, whether that's the kick, life that you actually know that you want. And by Friday, you're going to know that you also deserve it. So here we go. Mindset. So many people are really confused about what mindset is and what mindset means. And so we're going to just break it down a little bit more simply. So number 1 under the 3 topics for today is mind and brain. Number 2 is head trash. And number 3 is your values. So starting at the mind and the brain, so many people see it just as one. So I'm going to be very simple. It's going to be the basics. There are a ton of components that once we start peeling back these layers that I could talk about, but today's not the day. The brain is the organ that controls every cell, tissue, muscle in the body. Okay. The brain is the organ. The mind resides in it. And that is very quotey in it. Okay. The 3 parts of the mind: the conscious brain, conscious mind, the subconscious, and the unconscious. And for all intents and purposes, I'm only going to talk about 2. I'm going to talk about conscious and unconscious. And I may every now and then, like subconscious may come in there, but that's what I mean. I mean, un/subconscious is one, and the conscious brain is another. 95% 80% of our mind, of our brain, for simplicity, is memorized. It's programmed and it's patterned. And it's all of this based on our past experiences. Only 5%, you guys, 5% of your life, of your brain, of your mind is conscious. That means like when you go to the grocery store, just think of all of the steps that happen without us even knowing. When you go to the grocery store, you remember how to drive your car, you remember how to open your car, you remember how to drive it, you remember how to turn it on, you remember how to get on the road, you remember how to get to the grocery store, what to do when you get to the grocery store, and how to get home. All of those parts are memorized, they're programmed, they're patterned. It's like the hard drive. It's like the hard drive on your computer. It's downloaded, okay? 5% is what you know to be true in the moment. Now let's talk about our thoughts. Whoa. Actually, the last research, there is 6,200 thoughts a day. 3 years ago, I think research said 12 to 16,000. So we're just going to go with what is the newest research, whatever it is. 80% of those thoughts, it is researched, are negative. Oh my goodness. 80% are negative. That is like 5,000 negative thoughts that you're putting into your hard drive every single day. And get this, 95% of those negative thoughts, 95% of those 5,000 thoughts are memorized. Okay, that should give you a little hint as to why today is today. Why is your life your life? Why are you where you are? That is not to feel bad about. That's not to be judged. That's nothing. It is just fact. And by the way, when we talk on Thursday, I believe, we're going to talk about decisions and what decisions mean, number one, how to make them, and how to make them not in the current mindset that we're in right now. Because when you make a decision right now and you got all this head trash and 5,000 thoughts into your brain every day are negative, how could you possibly get a positive result? This is why the leaders of our world, the billionaires, the thought leaders, all the people work on personal development every single day. Because it's a matter of seeing and feeling and knowing what is coming into your brain and into your mind. And now, how do we get out of that pattern? Now, the good news, the brain is neuroplastic. It's a big word for it can change. The brain can change. We can change this. The mind can change. Your mindset can change. So when I talk on the next, on the next page and I write the key takeaway, your mindset is your choice, I say it for one reason. It is no one else's responsibility. And this is where I'm a hard ass. Because your result in your life, how you're approaching it from the mental state, is only your responsibility. It doesn't matter what else has happened. It doesn't matter what your parents taught you. It doesn't matter what you maybe learned. Well, it does, of course. That means that you chose to adopt all that as your own. And so if you know that you have a choice now, if you know that you're personally responsible for where you are right now, that's a whole different set of beliefs that we can now get through. Because if we're way more interested in blaming the other guy, that was casual, blaming the other person, your parents, your spouse, your boss, your landlord, whatever it is for your situation, you're going to never get out of that. That's victim mindset. That's lack mindset. So let's just be aware of where we're actually at right now without judgment, without feeling bad for yourself, without like, oh my gosh, I'm a terrible person. There's absolutely no time for that. That's not what we're doing here. We're evaluating our life and our mind and our brain right now so that we can change it, so that we can get a different result. Okay. So the first in this notes section, see what I mean? I did not leave enough space for anything really. We're going to talk about head trash. We're going to talk about the 4,700 negative thoughts that you think every day. And this is where workshop begins. I love workshops. You can take out your pen and paper or that little notes thing, and I just want you to actually write down everything you think. Now, you're not going to get 47 thoughts in there, but start to write down what is coming into your brain every day. And it's likely the same thoughts. So many people will say, well, if you were your own best friend, you definitely wouldn't like her. Right. That's the essence of it. How can we start to be aware of what we're thinking so that we can change it? Without awareness, we're not able to change anything. And tomorrow we're going to talk about how to talk to you. What are the different parts of you? How can we anchor into the voice that is always right, the main voice in our body and in our life? And that's similar now. So if you just take some breaths in, we're just going to center ourselves a bit. I want you to close your eyes if you choose to. I want you to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. And what I want this to be is a centering of sorts. A 1-minute piece of awareness. That's it. Because we have everything we need in us. It's our responsibility to find the people that can help get rid of what's not serving us anymore, and so that we can catapult into who we are meant to be. So feel your breath, listen to your breath, sense your breath, see your breath, whatever it is when you breathe. And as we're breathing, I want you to breathe in possibility. I want you to breathe in opportunity. I want you to breathe in freedom and centeredness. And I want you to breathe out doubt. Breathe out uncertainty and judgment and fear. So take a few big breaths and be aware of the rhythm. So do you notice calm and ease? Some of you might even notice peace and grace. Those foundational components to feeling and being. That's what I want you to tune into. And just overall, you have access to this any moment you want. You are you. You can breathe for 2 minutes whenever you want. If you're at the supper table and you feel flustered, if you're in a business meeting, you say you need to go to the bathroom. If you're driving, just don't close your eyes. But if you're driving and you're starting to notice road rage, you're starting to get frustrated, you're starting to feel sad, whatever it is, you always can come back to your breath. And I want these, the next week to be a puzzle that you believe you can put together with what you have, not what you're missing. So let's get to this head trash. Now that we're centered, writing these things down does not mean you're going to get more of them. The purpose of writing this down right now is to release it. It's to be aware of, oh my goodness, I'm actually saying this to myself. That's what I want to happen. Because in order to create more, in order to build, in order to grow, in order to evolve and expand, you got to get rid of the shackles here, the barriers, the things that you're meeting with so much resistance. How can you release that so that you can move into a different space? So take out your sheet of paper or this lined, this notes page, and write down some of the 4,700 negative thoughts that you have every single day. And I'm just going to give you a minute. I know it's not enough. This is meant to come back to. It's not meant as a one and done task. That's not how personal development, growth, expansion, creating your dream life, that's actually not how it works ever. It's a journey. It's not an event. It's not a, oh, this training was great, and you don't do anything more with it. I want you to be able to come back to it when you feel stuck, when you feel frustrated, when you feel scattered and chaotic, to come back to that breath, number one, and get the puke on paper to happen. That's what you're doing right now. Puke it on paper. So I'm going to be quiet for 1 minute. So I'm curious who will be the brave ones here. I would love if you'd share some of your stuff. And this is why. It's not to let you or allow you to think that this is normal, but that there's a community of people who are struggling with the same things you're struggling with. And the struggle is totally real right now. It was real before, but it's really real right now. And some of being able to get this out of your programmed mind is the power of freedom. It's the power of not being a slave to what your brain is like chirping at you the whole time. And so finding some tools, that's what we're going to do every single day. Find some tools that you can come back to, that you feel like, okay, I learned some, I experienced some, and now I know some, that you can start to live differently because you're thinking differently. I'm kind of known for a kick in the you know what and a hug all at the same time. Because what is happening is we start to settle for average, and we start to settle for what normal might seem like, what normal might be like. And now we just give up. We just say, well, I don't know, if everyone is struggling with the same thing, it just must be normal. Nope, it is actually not normal. That's why it's important to follow leaders who don't have that. They don't live in that model, so that they can continue to teach you, whether it's podcasts, whether it's books, whether it's live trainings, whether it's coaching programs, whether it's, I don't know, whatever it is. Find the people that show you and remind you that it's not normal. It is common. It's totally common to feel like garbage right now. It is not normal though. Find the people that are leading others in a way that you want to do, in creating a life that you admire. That's where we start to move through what settle looks like, what content looks like, what average looks like, what mediocre looks like. Like, I think it totally sucks. I don't understand why anyone would want to live in that space knowing they can do more, they can be more, and they can have more. So, oh, so good. I just got teary when you guys were writing before these comments even came through, because I'm so grateful that there's a space that we can come to that is safe, and that I can create it for everybody around, that you can have your own growth at your own pace, or you can 10x it by going at my pace. Whatever you choose. Dang, it just makes me so happy. Okay. That last one at 201 is a big one. Not good enough, not smart enough, nothing to offer. They can just Google it. I can't do it. Why can't I just be happy doing what I'm doing and just settling? Right. And this is the thing about trainings like this. You can't unsee what you see, and you can't unlearn what you learn. So you won't ever be the same after today. Now, the key component is personal responsibility, discipline, consistency, and persistence, right? That's how we get to where we want to go, is actually doing the work, following the people that are helping us get there, and putting in the miles so that we can experience all that we want to experience. When you have that nudge, we're going to talk about tomorrow, the nudge, the whisper, the like, oh, you're meant for more. What about doing this? I have a perfect life right now. I have a family. I have my home. I have an awesome car. I have the career that I've dreamed of, and I still feel like there's more. That's okay, guys. That's okay. The problem is we're in an environment and we're in communities that 99.9% of people are okay being okay. They're okay being normal. They're okay being average. They're okay being mediocre. So when you start to rise into a different level of thinking, because it starts with thinking, that's what we're talking about today, you start to experience some pushback, because now you're moving through a boundary that you had already set. And they're like, whoa, what is she doing? So your circle of influence starts to change, who you start to spend your time with, who you start to read from, listen to, it starts to change. First things first, turn off the news. Okay, there's my sass, if you haven't seen it yet. Okay, we're going to talk about values a bit. Are there any questions? Let's just say that. I'm going to get some water. If there are any specific questions, I want you to write it down here. I'll answer a few as we go. And anything that is, I mean, Lindy, Jackie, Jesse, if anything pops up that you think would be really, really relevant and something that I should answer that would help, I haven't seen all the comments, of course, but would help everybody, can you just let me know? And I don't know how you, Lindy, text me or whatever, put it on the little screen. We can do that too. The awesome part about StreamYard is I can take a comment and then it becomes the banner on the bottom. Just going to hang for 10 more seconds. So we're going to talk about values. And values are the foundation, and they are the lighthouse for our life. Values change. Values change, especially when there's growth, when there's stress, when there's a big event. Because as people say, I kind of coasted until I came up against this really difficult situation. And when I came up against that difficult situation, my mindset needed to change. My faith in God needed to change. Whatever it was needed to up level. And in order to get through that time of your life, you needed to step into a different identity. I did a training last week on sometimes you just need to be brave for someone else. Sometimes it's really difficult to be brave. That one decision in a stressful time is maybe meant for someone else. Like, I really just need to do this thing so that I can be brave to show my kids that mom can do it, that dad can do it, that grandma can do it, that auntie can do it, that grandpa can do it. So on Thursday, when we talk about being fearless, it is talking about those things. How can we clear our mind, connect to what matters so that we get to step into a different identity? Not mom, not wife, not friend, not boss. Like, your identity. Who are you under all of those things? So our values are our lighthouse. And I'm going to give you 3 questions. And I apologize for not putting them in the workbook. Many times as I'm prepping, I tune into the energy of the group and what needs to happen here. And it's why some people call me a procrastinator, because I didn't know the exact questions until this morning. So by that time you had the workbook, but these are the 3 questions. And team, if you can write these down in a 1, 2, 3, so we can work on them. And for anybody who's looking at the comments, you can see them. Number 1, what do you make time for even when you don't have time? What do you make time for even when you don't have time? And if under each of these, you can like have a little bit of space, like 3-line space, okay? Next question. What goals do you consistently make progress on? What goals do you consistently make progress on? And number 3, what lights you up when you talk about it, when you learn about it, and when you experience it? What lights you up when you talk about it, learn about it, or experience it? Three questions. 1, what do you make time for even when you don't have time? 2, what goals do you consistently make progress on? And number 3, what lights you up when you talk about it, learn about it, or experience it? 3 lines under each of these. I want you to fill these in. Just a minute. Many people say their values are the big 5. I don't even know if I'm going to remember all 5 of them, but faith, family, purpose, career, finances, and health. I'm looking for more detail than that. So for example, let's say you exercise every day. That's one thing you make time for even when you don't have time. Maybe it's meal prepping. Maybe it's leading your team. Maybe it's making your bed. Whatever it is, those things are things that are of your highest values. But that doesn't mean if you cycle every single day or you work out every single day, that doesn't mean necessarily that health is your number 1 priority or that is your top value. Break it down a bit on what about health does this help me see in myself? Who can I be when I do X, Y, and Z? These questions that I asked, okay? So I'm going to give you a few minutes. Once again, this is not meant to be done. This is meant to be started. And you get to continue it. Okay, so I'm going to give you a few minutes. if you have any questions after you're done, write them in there. And for anybody who hasn't been in my trainings and has never done this, it's going to take you a bit. You need to tap into this part of your life and of your body that you may never have, that you've never been, you've never given yourself the opportunity to go to that place. So if that is you, give yourself some grace. If you've done a lot of this, and if you haven't redone this in the last 6 to 12 months, 6 to 9 months, I would highly suggest to go through in-depth training. I have the in-depth training for those of you who have done some of my programs, but because anytime there's more stress, your values change. Your values are challenged and you start to pivot. So the important part is to be aware of what they are, because as your values change, your decisions change. Who you spend time around changes. Your pastimes change. Your behaviors change. Your actions change. Your personality many times changes. So it's important to have touch points to come back to when you feel off, or like things just don't feel right. Or maybe you spend time with a group of friends and you come home and you're like, eesh, just doesn't feel very good. Or maybe your job, that there's that one day that you're like, you know what? I don't think this is my forever anymore. Now what? Right? Those are all signs that there's incongruency between what you're doing and who you're being. And the who you're being part starts with values. It starts with that being your lighthouse. You can't fix the actions without really identifying who you are and what's holding you back in that way. Okay. Yeah. So it's interesting to think on all three of these. This person said, I don't see names or anything, but number 2 and number 3 are easier. Number 1 is definitely more challenging. Yeah, well, if you don't make time for anything except what you have to do every day, and we're stuck in this hamster wheel, then it's definitely going to be difficult, right? Those are some of the underlying feelings with all of these questions, like, oh, man, I have never even thought about that. So if we haven't thought about it, there's definitely, you're not creating it either. You're not creating more space and more time to be able to be that version of yourself that you want to be. Okay, so through these, if you have 3 for each of them, I just want you to observe with a different set of eyes. You know, when I talk about decisions a lot and how we make decisions, and actually how not making a decision is still a decision. And so if you're making decisions that, number 1, don't feel good, and number 2, are serving the same person you're moving away from, then your values are off. Your boundaries are likely also off. And your boundaries will be more difficult for the people that you've never set one with. How about that? When you set a boundary and you say, all right, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to be, this is whatever. The people that are the most difficult with that boundary are the people that have been able to change your decisions your whole life. And now all of a sudden you put this line not only in the sand, but in the concrete. And you say, this is what it is, so like it or leave it. And they don't like that because they've been used to modifying. Some people would say manipulated, and I don't mean that as being intentional, but modifying them. So decisions bestly, that's not a word. The best way to make a decision is not from an emotional space. How about that? For all of us are like, oh my word, that's all I am is emotional. But that's the important part, coming internally, figuring out what lights you up, then making decisions from a place of objectivity, knowing that this is where I want to go. and this is how I'm going to do it, that's when you start to believe in yourself. So of all those 9, let's just say you have all 9 of them, circle the common. If there is like one word that is listed 3 times, circle it. Find some common ground in you. Not all the words might be the same, but they may mean the same thing, right? Like my top values are transformation, of course, fun, connection, the biggest ones. So in order for me to spend time with people, I need a connection. I want it to be fun. I want it to be a new experience so that I can create more memories in my bank. And I'm not interested in superficial experiences. That is just how I work. And that's my day in the office is constantly in depth and communication and connection and transformation. Those are the pillars. So after, this is like a to be continued forever kind of thing, but I want you just to, when you circle whatever is common in this list of 9, or maybe you had 6 written, I really want you to feel if that's right. Like, is that a value of mine? I mean, I've redone my values, I don't know, 20, 30 times. I used to think that you have one top value. You don't have one top value, likely. Maybe you have 10. Maybe you have 10 values. But the closer you are to the top, when you start to define the lighthouse, right? The closer you are to the top, the more that all of your decisions are going to filter through those top things. So I know mine are transformation, connection, and fun. And so just about every single decision that I make, I run through those. That doesn't mean that there's not sacrifices, there's not needs of your family and friends that you move through. That's just part of what you need to do. But overall, when you're creating the life that you dream of and you're being the CEO of that $1 million life, this is where you need to get to. So the to be continued part is really about keeping this work at the forefront of what you do. And I'll probably say that every day, but really foundationally, this is it. This is where you need to start. And it's going to evolve. It requires awareness. And tomorrow we're going to really dig into how can you reset? Like, how can you come back to yourself and to create more awareness? Because at that point, then you're clear enough to create your values. Sometimes this stressy brain and this scattered brain and fearful brain, it just won't even, I mean, if you stay in that brain, you will not be able to create these, which is why I started with a very brief breathing session to center. But if your brain has been stuck in fight or flight for years, fight, flight, or freeze for years, 2 minutes of a breathing exercise won't probably open you up enough to really dig into what lights you up. All right, I'm going to leave a few minutes for questions as I close out. My goodness, I've already been talking for about an hour. One of the most powerful pieces of my work is that I get to see, feel, and witness your gifts and your spark and the thing that you have that nobody has. And it's what has given me the confidence, so much. It's what's given me the oomph to come into a space like this and really talk about it. Because thousands of people and thousands of families that I've adjusted in the last 15 years, I see that spark. I see that, like, if you think of, you know what a GoPro is? You know, you put the GoPro on your head and you got this light. I can see that there's a spark in there. But no matter what I see, you're personally responsible. Or maybe even required to be willing to go there. And when we talk the next days about how do you know that feeling? Or how do you move through fear? And then how do I actually do the work? That's what I'll help you with. But the willingness, the knowing that there's got to be more. What am I called to do? Who am I called to be? What do I need to let go of so that I can create more space in my heart, in my gut, in my body to do something great that I know that I'm supposed to do? There are many things, many times in my life that I just know it's what I'm supposed to do. And logically, it makes no sense. Now, I've surrounded myself with people and mentors and coaches that I can go to and say, okay, crazy thought, crazy idea. I'm full of ideas. What about this? And I'm around people who say, well, yeah, go do that. Oh, huh. Like, what if it were that easy? What if you would just decide and say yes to what you believe and what you feel is right? And that's what you've said yes to today. I'm so thankful, because even for everybody in here, for everybody catching a replay, to read through those comments, to know that you have it all, that the path is there, you just need to uncover it, and you need to have the courage to go get it. Because that $1 million life, that $1 million dream is there. It's totally there. You got to sift through the cobwebs. You have to take the first step. I want to close with this little thing. Oh, these cameras, I get them all mixed up. Oh, this way. Be the person that your dream requires you to be. And if you've stopped dreaming, I give you permission to start again. What is the dream? Because when you know the dream, you can start to step into the person that dream requires you to be. If you're leading a team, and this is your dream to do X, Y, and Z, who did those people require you to be, require you to show up as? If you want an all-American marriage, weird, I don't know why I said all-American, that's a weird comment, but if you want that marriage, who do you need to be to achieve that dream? If you want to make your first 6 figures in your job, who do you need to be to achieve that dream? That's the $1 million question. And when you can start making decisions, not from the emotional place of be the person that your dream requires, but, oh, this is just what is next. It's what's next. It's what I have to do. And when you have conviction and certainty in that way, no matter what it is, if it's a conversation that you need to have with your mom, if your coworker is struggling with something, if you need to say no to somebody, whatever it is, conviction and certainty comes from you knowing you and stepping into, giving you permission to step into that person to achieve the dream that you know is waiting. So I close. This is totally where I want to just stay all day. Transformation, connection, and fun. I hope you've gotten extreme value. I hope it's been enough in tiny chunks to process. And if it's been too big, just chunk it down and come back to it. And I just want to pinky swear. I want you to pinky swear me that you'll have the courage to dream. That when you have the courage to dream, you'll have the courage to take one step, just one step. And when you take that step, that's evidence that you can do it. That's evidence that you're going. That's evidence you're making progress and there's momentum. Because pretty soon that becomes multiple steps along this path. And this path doesn't mean it needs to be blazed. But with your GoPro on, you know that you're on the right path, that you get to just uncover it. Will it be scary as HE double hockey sticks? Maybe. Is it worth it? Always. It's always worth it. You're worth it. So I want you to do something different today. I want you to be someone different today. Something that changes your brain, something that changes your body, something that lights you up and you're like, oh my God, where has this been? This is what I want every day. That's you. That's what's possible. Now you get to step into the person to achieve the dream that's always been there, but you're giving yourself permission to do it. So thank you for joining me. Continue to comment, ask questions. I will be on, my team will be on. This is pivotal work, you guys. It's the most important work, and it's the most important transformation that you could possibly do is you. Because when you work on you and when you change you and you evolve you, your children change, your marriage changes, your work changes, your purpose changes, all of it. It all changes. You got everything you need right here. So start to believe in it and go get it. I love you.